We're here at the Border Grill during the Twin City Tea Party with Representative Kim Ferguson and Senator Jen Flanagan, who've just finished speaking about redistricting and a few other things. Representative, how do you think your reception went today with the people?
Well, I think it was fine. It's always, great to get out and answer people's questions and go out with the people and, answer things that they want to talk about, discuss them, give them some feedback. Sometimes they always don't love our answers, but we're out there doing it, and it's always great to get out with people.
It can be very hard sometimes when you're dealing with a crowd of a particular, the Tea Party has a particular bent. Is it a little bit harder to come when you have a group of a particular bent, would you say?
The truth is the truth, and that's, you give them the information just like you would any other group. I think, I respect people for their opinions and what they ask, and we had a dialogue that went on for quite some time in there, and it was good.
Now, the biggest issue today was redistricting. You talked about how the process works and how complicated it is, both because of state law and federal law. If there was one thing that you wanted to get through to the people listening, what would be the one major factor that you want them to understand?
It was a transparent process, and we were part of that process, and the general public could be part of that process. And while we may not be happy with all of the results, we were elected to represent the people, and we're going to continue to run for office to represent the people regardless of what cities and towns they live in.
And I would say, too, it was a complicated process, and that's the other thing that we try to hammer home with people, is it's just not a very simple numbers game. It's a very complicated puzzle that they had to make work for 160 representative districts, 40 senatorial districts, and then our congressional districts. So it was tough.
You wonder how they used to do it before computers, actually.
Exactly.
One thing you mentioned that I think was actually rather shameful is that only 120 people commented online
on the website
concerning this, and this was open for public discussion. And you would think, that's only about 10 people per county. How can that be?
They may have used other avenues. They could have attended the hearings. They could have gone through their representatives and senators. It might have been through meetings and advocacy groups. There's multiple ways that people could comment. So I don't think that's that harmful, because I think people have other avenues they can use.
But I will say, though, that you do want to give people as many opportunities to comment, and with our busy lifestyles and the fact that we can't always make it to meetings, it is a little surprising that that number was so low when it's easier to fire off an email and to comment that way. But there certainly were the opportunities between meetings, talking to your representatives, sending a letter, using the website. It was an open, transparent process, and they did read all of that feedback.
One other thing that was brought up is people often think of this process as an incumbent protection scheme, but how much of it is really you know your district better than somebody else knowing it?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
I inherited a Republican town, so it's not that you're trying to insulate yourself from anything. I think you just have to look at the numbers, and you try to protect the interests of your district, whether that means protecting sectors of your district or keeping cities and towns together, and you move forward. It's not about insulation. No.
And also, for example, in my case, in the first Worcester case, I had 4 out of 5 towns in a regional school district. And when we talked about that with the committee members, they weren't always aware of that. They weren't aware that I only didn't have Paxton. So it made sense for me to pick up Paxton as part of that regional school district when I already had the other 4 towns anyway. And that's something that, again, with me sitting at the table, I can advocate and explain that, where someone else just might not be aware at all that that's part of the Wachusett district.
Now, we've seen both of you, if I'm not mistaken, at Tea Party events in the past talking. Will we be seeing you again in the future?
Probably. If we go anywhere, we're invited.
Well, thank you very much for your time. A pleasure to see you both again.
Thank you.